Imagine this. One of R&B's biggest legends, a man whose music touched millions, had a secret side of his life that almost nobody knew about. Most people remember him for his smooth voice, his unforgettable songs, and the way he made people fall in love with his music. But behind the scenes, there was a side of him that was hidden, a side only a few close friends ever glimpsed. Recently, Stephanie Mills, someone who knew him well and shared the same world of music, opened up about some secrets that left fans stunned. She named artists who were very close to him in ways the public would never have guessed. And the details, honestly, you won't believe them. This story takes us deep into a world of fame, secrecy, and hidden emotions, showing a side of the music industry most of us never see. Teddy Pendergrass was more than just a singer. He was a symbol of R&B in the 70 seconds and 80 seconds. People didn't just listen to his songs, they felt them. Every note, every lyric seemed to speak directly to the heart. Fans admired not only his music, but also the way he carried himself, the charm, the confidence, the aura of a superstar. But like many artists of his time, Teddy lived in a world where privacy was everything. Fame brought adoration, but it also brought expectations about how he should behave, who he should be seen with, and even how he expressed himself. Behind the bright lights and sold-out shows, there were private moments that very few people ever witnessed. It's in this hidden world, where friends and fellow artists shared secrets and understood the pressures of the spotlight, that Stephanie Mills' revelations fit perfectly. She's taking us behind the curtain, showing a side of Teddy that was carefully kept away from public eyes, a side that reveals the complexity of life as a music icon. Stephanie Mills isn't just anyone talking about Teddy Pendergrass. She was part of the same music world, someone who saw the behind-the-scenes life of stars up close. She shared stages, late-night studio sessions, and quiet moments off the spotlight with many of the biggest names in R&B. Her perspective carries weight because she wasn't just a casual observer. She lived in that environment, understood the pressures of fame, and witnessed the way artists protected their personal lives. According to her, Teddy had relationships and connections that the public would never have guessed, and she is finally opening up about them. What makes her account so compelling is the mix of closeness and honesty. She's not trying to scandalize anyone, but she is revealing the truth as she remembers it. Through Stephanie, we get an insider's view of a world where friendship, loyalty, and secrecy often intertwined, showing us Teddy Pendergrass not just as a superstar, but as a man with hidden sides and private emotions. According to Stephanie Mills, Teddy's life offstage was far more complicated than anyone could imagine. While fans saw him charming the crowd and delivering unforgettable performances, there were close private relationships that were never meant for the public eye. Stephanie recalls moments when Teddy would confide in a few trusted friends about the challenges of keeping his personal life private. Among those he was closest to were fellow artists, some of whom were quietly navigating their own identities in an industry that didn't fully accept them. She mentions one artist, a soulful singer known for his powerful ballads, who shared long late-night conversations with Teddy about love, fear, and secrecy. Another was a rising talent, whose public image was carefully controlled, yet privately shared deep emotional connections with him. These relationships weren't just romantic, they were a mix of friendship, trust, and emotional intimacy, the kind of bonds that could only exist away from the spotlight. Stephanie's story paints a picture of a man who, despite being admired by millions, had to navigate love, identity, and loyalty in complete secrecy. And while these relationships were hidden, they shaped who Teddy was, influencing the music he created and the way he connected with those around him. Stephanie Mills recalls that Teddy Pendergrass had a private circle of friends and fellow artists with whom he shared a very different side of his life. While the public only knew the superstar with the magnetic stage presence, those closest to him witnessed a man who cared deeply, who could be vulnerable, and who valued trust above all else. She describes late-night conversations in hotel rooms or quiet corners of recording studios where Teddy would open up about his fears, his dreams, and the struggles of maintaining privacy in a world obsessed with celebrity. Among those he was closest to were artists who were themselves navigating complicated personal lives. Stephanie mentions a soulful singer known for his powerful love songs, who Teddy would often confide in. Their friendship was built on a foundation of trust and understanding, two men supporting each other in a world that rarely offered safety or acceptance. She also recalls a younger rising star, full of talent but constantly under public scrutiny, who shared moments of laughter, comfort, and heartfelt conversations with Teddy. These interactions weren't always romantic, but there was an undeniable intimacy and emotional depth to their connection, something the world would never have imagined. Stephanie also paints a picture of the constant balancing act Teddy had to perform. On one hand, he was the adored superstar, performing to sold-out audiences and living a life that seemed perfect from the outside. On the other hand, he had private bonds and emotions that he had to hide, sometimes even from those who cared about him most. These secret relationships weren't scandals in the traditional sense. They were moments of genuine human connection that had to remain unseen in a judgmental industry. Stephanie Mills' revelations, if they were ever made public in Teddy's time, could have sent shockwaves through the music world. Back then, the industry was not as open or accepting, and even a hint of something private could lead to rumors, judgment, or even career consequences. Fans often idolized stars, imagining their lives as perfect, and any glimpse behind the curtain might have felt scandalous. But Stephanie doesn't present these stories to create drama, she shares them to highlight the reality of what it meant to be a superstar with a private life. She recalls conversations with other artists who expressed concern for Teddy, knowing how closely the public watched his every move. The tension between public perception and private truth was immense, and it shaped the decisions Teddy made about whom to trust and what to reveal. Stephanie also emphasizes that these hidden relationships were never about deception or betrayal. They were about survival in a world that demanded perfection while punishing vulnerability. Some artists in the circle she mentions were fearful of being judged, labeled, or misunderstood, and Teddy's discretion allowed these friendships to exist. Imagining the public's reaction, it's easy to see why secrecy was essential. Yet, even in secrecy, these relationships had a profound impact on the people involved, teaching lessons of loyalty, empathy, and the complexities of human connection. Through Stephanie's recounting, we understand that the real story is not scandal. It's a story about trust, emotional intimacy, and the courage it took to live authentically, even if only in private. Ultimately, Stephanie's perspective allows fans and viewers to see Teddy Pendergrass not just as a superstar, but as a human being with emotions, struggles, and the need for private connections that were safe from public scrutiny. It's a reminder that behind every iconic face, there are hidden stories that can teach us more about life, friendship, and authenticity than any headline ever could. Stephanie Mills' story doesn't just reveal hidden relationships. It invites us to think about the pressures and realities of life in the spotlight. Teddy Pendergrass, like many stars of his time, had to navigate fame while protecting his personal life, emotions, and identity. The secrecy wasn't about shame, it was about survival, about creating a safe space where he and those he trusted could be themselves without judgment. It also reflects a broader truth. In every industry, especially one so public and scrutinized as music, the world rarely sees the full reality of someone's life. Behind the glitz, the awards, and the sold-out concerts, there are private struggles, hidden connections, and quiet moments that shape a person just as much as their public achievements. Stephanie's perspective gives us a chance to empathize with Teddy and others like him. It reminds us that human connection, trust, intimacy, and emotional support is often hidden from public view, yet it's what truly sustains people through challenges. Even in the most glamorous worlds, there is complexity, vulnerability, and a longing for understanding. Listening to her account, we are encouraged to see celebrities not only as icons, but as people who navigate love, friendship, and identity under enormous pressure. Her reflections make it clear. The story isn't about gossip or scandal, it's about humanity, the hidden layers of people we admire, and the courage it takes to live authentically, even in secrecy. As Stephanie Mills shares these intimate stories, we are reminded that even the most celebrated stars have sides of themselves that remain hidden from the world. Teddy Pendergrass, with all his fame and talent, lived a life full of private moments, secret friendships, and emotional bonds that most fans would never imagine. These hidden stories don't diminish his legend, they deepen it, showing us the real human being behind the music that touched so many lives. Stephanie's account also leaves us with questions and curiosity. How many other stories of trust, love, and hidden connections exist behind the scenes in music history? What other truths remain untold, waiting for someone brave enough to share them? It's a reminder that history, even in the world of entertainment, is never as simple as it seems. And as we listen, we realize that every superstar, no matter how adored, carries a private life full of complexities, emotions, and relationships that deserve respect and understanding. Stephanie Mills' revelations leave us thinking about how much of a person's life can remain hidden even when they are constantly in the spotlight. Teddy Pendergrass was adored by millions, yet behind the fame and the applause, there were private stories, quiet friendships, and emotional bonds that the public never saw. These moments remind us that celebrities are human too. They feel, they struggle, they seek connection, just like anyone else. Stephanie's account shows us that even someone larger than life, like Teddy, had a world where he could be vulnerable, honest, and himself without judgment. What makes these stories even more fascinating is the mix of secrecy and trust. Teddy's relationships were kept private not because they were wrong, but because the world wasn't ready to understand them. Friends, confidants, and fellow artists became a safe space, a place to share emotions, fears, and moments of joy without the glare of public scrutiny. Listening to Stephanie, it's clear that these hidden connections shaped him as a man and as an artist, influencing the way he performed, the way he wrote music, and the way he interacted with those he loved. And while we may never know every detail of these secret relationships, Stephanie's storytelling teases us with glimpses into a life that was real, complex, and profoundly human. It leaves fans curious, wondering about the untold stories that exist behind the scenes of the music industry. Stories of trust, love, and resilience that history might never record. It's a reminder that fame doesn't erase humanity, and that behind every legendary figure lies a private world full of connections, emotions, and truths waiting to be discovered. In the end, Stephanie Mills' account isn't just a story about Teddy Pendergrass. It's a story about the hidden sides of all of us, the bonds we keep close, and the courage it takes to live authentically, even when the world is watching. And perhaps, as we listen, we begin to understand that some of the most important stories in history are the ones that remain quietly in the background, shaping lives in ways the spotlight never could.